Good morning. Some of you may be wondering what I'm doing, and oftentimes I wonder that myself. But today I actually have an answer. I wanted to share a read aloud with you. And when I woke up this morning, I was a little bummed out because normally on Monday mornings when I wake up, I'm very excited to go to work and spend the day with you kids. And one of my favorite parts of the day is the read aloud. But when I woke up this morning, I realized I wouldn't be going into work to see any of you, and we wouldn't be doing the read aloud together. So I came up with the idea that maybe I could do an online read aloud. You'll have to let me know if you enjoy this as much as you enjoy the read aloud in class, and if so, I can continue this and we can finish the book together. If not, we can come up with something else together. But for today, I've decided to read a book that was introduced to me just a few years ago, and it's become one of my favorite books. It's called Because of Mr. Terupt. The book is written by a gentleman named Bob Booyah, and I'm pretty sure that's not the right way to say his last name, but it's definitely the funnest. This book is based on kids that he taught when he was a 3rd and 4th grade teacher. So he dedicated this book to all of the kids he taught in 3rd and 4th grade because of their mysterious activities and their spontaneity in the classroom, and it inspired him and gave him stories to write about. But before I get started, a couple of things we need to get started with. First is a blanket. You should probably grab a blanket, and if you don't have one that's covered in elephants, that's okay. Grab your favorite blanket and get comfy. You're going to want to grab maybe your favorite stuffed animal. These always help the read alouds. And if you have a pet, these definitely enhance a read aloud, even when they fall asleep, like mine probably will soon. Once you have that, you should also get yourself a little something to drink. Preferably in a mug that you enjoy drinking out of. It really makes the experience a little bit better. Don't forget, if you're reading along with me, to get a bookmark so you remember what time or place we paused in the book for when we come back tomorrow or maybe even later this afternoon. All right, let's get started. Chapter 1 occurs in September. It's named after a character named Peter. Now, Peter, by reading the front cover, is a class prankster and a troublemaker. Let's see what happens in the first chapter. It's our bad luck in the world to have teachers, but since we're stuck with them, the best we can do is hope to get a brand new one instead of a mean old fart. New teachers don't know the rules, so you can get away with strange things that the old-timers would squash for sure. That was my theory anyway. So I was feeling pretty excited to start the 5th grade since I was getting a rookie teacher, a guy named Mr. Terupt. Right away, I put him to the test. If the bathroom pass is free, all you have to do is take it and go. This year, the bathrooms are right across the hall. It's always been an easy way to get out of doing work. I can be really sneaky like that. I'll take the pass all the time and the teachers never notice. And like I said, Mr. Terupt is a rookie, so I knew he wasn't going to catch me. Once you're in the bathroom, it's mess around time. All the other teachers on our floor were women, so I wouldn't have to worry about them barging in on me. I could grab the bars on top of the stalls and swing. I could try and touch my feet to the ceiling. I'd swing really hard. And if someone's in the stall, it's really funny to swing and kick the door in, especially if it's a younger kid. If you scare him bad enough, he might even pee on himself a little. That's funny. Or if your buddy's using the urinal, you can push him from behind and flush it at the same time. Then he might get a little wet, and that's pretty funny too. Some kids like to plug the toilets with big wads of toilet paper, but I don't suggest trying this. You can get in big trouble. My older brother told me his friend got caught, and he had to scrub the toilets with a toothbrush. And then he said the principal made him brush his teeth with a toothbrush afterward. Now, Mrs. Williams is pretty tough, but I don't think she'd give out that kind of punishment. Either way, I don't want to find out. When I came back to the classroom after my 4th, or was it my 5th trip, I don't know, Mr. Terupt looked at me and said, "Boy, Peter, I'm going to have to call you Mr. Peabody. Or better yet, Peter the Peer. You do more peeing than a dog walking a mile with fire hydrants." Everybody laughed. I was wrong. He had noticed. I sat down, and then Mr. Terupt came over and whispered something in my ear, something that nobody else heard. I didn't know what to do. My eyes got real big when he told me his secret. I couldn't believe it, but that didn't matter. Mr. Terupt just went back to the front board and the math problem that he was going over. So I sat there with my big eyes. which soon turned into a smile. "What did he say?" Marty asked. Marty's desk was right next to mine. "Nothing," I said. Ben and Wendy leaned across their desk to hear. They sat right across from us. Our 4 desks made up table number 3. Sometimes Mr. Terupt called us by tables. "Nothing," I said again. It would be my secret. How cool was Mr. Terupt? His reaction was better than being yelled at like all the old farts would have done. Some kids in my class would have cried at the way he treated me, but not me. And somehow, I think Mr. Terupt knew that I would be fine. It was his way of letting me know that he knew what was going on without making a huge stink about it. I like that about Mr. Terupt. He sure could be funny. And I'm a funny guy. This school year, for the first time in my life, I started thinking, school's going to be fun. That's why it's important to have a drink. All right. The next chapter is called Jessica. Now, if I look at the front cover, Jessica is the new girl. She's smart and perceptive, which means she picks up on things real fast. She's having a hard time fitting in, though. All right. Act 1, Scene 1. The first day of school, I was nervous. Somewhat. Sweaty palms and dry mouth syndrome had struck again. This was surprising. After all, I was coming to a brand new place. My mom and I had just moved all the way from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, over here in Connecticut. So it was my first day in Snow Hill School. My mom came to get me settled. We walked through the glass doors and beautiful entryway and stopped in the main office to ask for directions. A red-haired woman, who proved to be exceptional at multitasking, greeted us with a smile and a slight nod. She did this while the phone rested between her ear and her shoulder, allowing her hands to scribble notes from a conversation she was having with her other ear with a brown-haired lady standing next to her. So we waited, and my fingers dug into the hardcover of my book. "Hi, I'm Mrs. Williams, the principal." This was the brown-haired lady that was speaking to the red-haired lady. She looked serious, all decked out in her business suit. "Welcome to Snow Hill School. Can I help you with anything?" We're looking for Mr. Terupt's room," my mom said. "I'm Julie Reitman, and this is my daughter, Jessica. We're new in town." "Ah, yes. It's a pleasure to meet you both. Let me show you the way." Mrs. Williams led us out of the office. I glanced at the secretary one more time. She'd be a great character in one of my dad's plays, I thought. My dad directs small plays in California, where I still want to be. "How are you today, Jessica?" Mrs. Williams asked. "Fine," I said, although that wasn't really true. We followed Mrs. Williams across the lobby and up the stairs in search of my new 5th grade classroom. The hall smelled stuffy, but clean, like they'd just been disinfected. I wondered if the custodians had done that on purpose, to make a show of how clean their school was. I followed Mom in the blue speckled carpet and past the rows of red lockers, where some kids were already unloading new supplies, and I could feel all their eyes studying the new girl in town. After the stairs came the whispers, and my face burned. "Here you are," Mrs. Williams said. "This is your floor. There are 4 classrooms up here, all 5th grade. 2 on each side of the hall, with the bathrooms right in the middle." Mrs. Williams pointed as she spoke. "That's your classroom right there," and she pointed again. "Room 202. Have a good first day." "Thank you," my mom said. I just nodded. Act 1, Scene 2. We walked into the classroom. The teacher looked up from his desk and smiled at us. The butterflies in my stomach fluttered, as if I were on a tilt-a-whirl. "Good morning. I'm Mr. Terupt," the teacher said as Mom and I walked in. He came right over to greet us. "Good morning," my mom said back. "I'm Julie Reitman, and this is Jessica. I think she's a little nervous being a new student." My tongue felt so swollen that I couldn't talk, so I settled on returning Mr. Terupt's smile. At least it was a friendly one. "Well, this is my first day too, so I guess we'll try and figure things out together," he said. My smile grew a little bigger at that. "Your seat is right over there at table 2. You're with Natalie, Tommy, and Ryan. Being near the window should give you a good reading light. That's a great book you have there, Jessica." I looked down at the book I was holding. A Wrinkle in Time. I rubbed my hand over the cover. "I really like happy endings," I said. "Me too," Mr. Terupt said. "I'll do my best to give you a happy ending this year." I smiled again. I couldn't believe it. My teacher was new, just like me, and he liked what I was reading. I don't know why, but somehow he made my butterflies disappear and my tongue shrink. I think things are going to be okay this year. Next chapter is called Luke. And Luke is the brain. All right, guess Luke's smart. I like school. I'm good at it. I get all A's. So when Mr. Terupt announced our first math project, I was excited. Dollar words was crazy. Definitely not a worksheet problem like all the others I've been given. Not even close. We had to assume that the letter A was worth 1 cent, B 2 cents, C 3 cents, and so on. Make the letter Z worth 26 cents. The challenge was to find words that equaled $1 when you added up their letter values. Not 99 cents, not $1.01, but $1 exactly. Mr. Terupt gave us time to get started. He wanted to make sure we understood the project. And he said he wondered who would be the first one to find a dollar word. I immediately made a data table of all the letters and their corresponding values. A quick reference for me. And then I started putting down any word that came to mind. Some of the bigger letters in it. Pretty, but that equaled 104. Walnut, that equaled 91. Mister, well, that equaled 84. Then I thought, hey, wait a minute. What if I just tack on the letter S? Misters, 103. No good, but close. I figured this could still be worth a strategy for some of the other words. So there I was, cranking out words, trying to find the first dollar word of the year, when what do I hear? Peter and Alexia. This is the 4th year Peter's been in my class, and my 3rd time with Alexia. Peter's funny, but sometimes he gets to be too much. If I'm concentrating on my work and he just wants to joke around, it kind of annoys me. But I like him. He's fun, and he's no stranger to trouble. Alexia, on the other hand, is always involved in some sort of girl war. That stuff I don't get. She loves to wear flashy clothes, dresses, skirts, fancy shoes, and she always has the accessories to go with them. And she always says the word like way too much, and she emphasizes like. Alexia isn't a stranger to trouble either. She and Peter are a good match. Peter elbowed Alexia, and then I heard him whisper a word to her. That's not even close to $1, I thought. 53, Alexa said. No good. Try. Were they crazy? They were trying to outroot words and giggling the whole time. I just knew they were going to get caught. That's no good either, Peter said. Maybe... Oh, man, as soon as I thought it, I knew it was a word worth calculating. Sure enough, butthead equaled 81. I tacked on the S. There wasn't just one butthead, but 2 buttheads. Dollar word! I was just about to call out that I had found one when Peter beat me to it. I've got a word, he yelled. Buttocks! He strutted to the board like he was the coolest thing since sliced bread and wrote it out for the class. Buttocks, he said again. B-U-T-T-O-C-S. Peter went on to demonstrate how the word added up to $1. And Mr. Terupt didn't interject. Just as I was about to, the new girl did. Buttocks is spelled with a K in it, Peter, Jessica said. Peter looked to Mr. Terupt. Sorry, Peter, she's right. Better try again. And maybe you should choose a different type of word than the one you've been coming up with. Peter slunk back into his seat. No surprise to me, Mr. Terupt knew what Peter was up to the whole time. I raised my hand. Mr. Terupt, I've got one. I walked up to the board and wrote butthead. That was followed by a chorus of laughs. Butthead, I said, B-U-T-T-H-E-A-D, adds up to 81 cents. But if we have more than one, then we've got buttheads, and the buttheads is a dollar word. Just ask Peter and Alexia. Mr. Terupt snickered. That's enough, Luke. I must say, this isn't just a word that I was expecting, but nonetheless, it's our first dollar word. Congratulations. Dollar Words was the best math project ever. We started it on Wednesday and worked for 3 weeks. Through trial and error, a few strategies that I learned along the way, and some helpful hints from Mr. Terupt, I broke the record for the most dollar words. My final poster was covered with 54 dollar words. Mr. Terupt looked at my work and smiled. Luke, this is excellent. You are the dollar word champ. All right. The next chapter is on Alexia, but we'll pause now. We'll put in our bookmark, and I'll pick up the story in just a little bit. I hope you enjoyed this. Please reach out to me if there's something I can do to improve this. Otherwise, have a wonderful morning, or afternoon, or evening, or whatever time it is where you're at. Here, it's just about lunch, and I think I should get a little something to eat.